was at dinner a couple weeks ago. Anybody heard of Michael Phelps?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was at dinner with Michael Phelps a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
Won 28 medals. And we were having dinner in downtown Salt Lake. A group of us downtown Salt Lake, and this gentleman was there. And Michael Phelps, are you kidding me? 28 medals? Hello, he's the winningest Olympian in history. You guys know that? He's one word Olympic. Remember Bob Costas? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and Phelps for the gold! Just killed him. But we were at dinner a few weeks ago, and I've respected this gentleman from a distance. You know, I love, and you know at our launch event, virtually, we had Eric Thomas, E.T., and Eric Thomas, I'm a beast, I'm a lion, I'm a beast. And I love that. I can relate to that. And I love Les Brown. Who saw the interview with Les Brown and Kim? What a gem Les is. I mean, he's just, what a heart. Almost 80 years old, and he has more charisma coming out of his left toes than most people ever have. He's just that big smile and that laugh. He's just such a kind human being. Him and Kim have been friends for years. I've known Les for 4 or 5 years, but Kim's known him for a long time. And I think the world of John Maxwell, Les Brown, the late great Zig Ziglar.
Yes.
I love when Zig, right? Went to his dentist and said, how many teeth do I need to floss? He said, only the ones you want to keep. Zig said money ranks up there with oxygen. Right? Man. Zig Ziglar said, all my broke friends and family say money doesn't mean much, but they call me on the 30th of every month and say, I can't pay the rent on the first, Zig. Can you help me? It's true. But I've respected this gentleman from a distance. I've respected his story. He has a social media platform with a few million views and followers called Absolute Motivation. And so when we had the chance, he's just a dear human being. We had lunch a couple weeks ago, right after the Phelps event. I just want to tell you a real quick story about him. His son was there. His son was paid to go to D.C. James was at the Trump inauguration. And he was paid to, by the way, I'm not here to talk politics, because I'll get some message after this going, just say the story or something else. With that said, he was in D.C. But his son was paid at 18 years old to go out to D.C. and to show up, because he's got some good recognition online. His son slept in and missed the event. He had the chance to get proximity, and he did. He slept in it. So I was at this lunch with James a couple weeks ago, and I see his wife, Nikki, over in the corner. I said, hey, what you up to, Nikki? And she had taken her son over to another booth, and she said, oh, we're going to have a business meeting. Business meeting was a little rawhide booty slapping, if you know what I mean. Their son was in trouble. And I watched how they lead, how they raise their family. And my wife and I had lunch with him and his son yesterday. I'm so impressed with who they are as people. But he's not a motivational speaker, but he's got a message. He's going to speak to your heart. He's not going to get up there like E.T. and pound his chest and tell you that you need to be a beast before him. But he's going to talk to your heart. I want you guys to welcome, we're going to roll a short video, but I want you guys to welcome, here in just a minute, my dear friend, Mr. James Dixon. Let's roll the video.
Everyone can rise, no matter what your background or origin has been. You are not the result of somebody's mistake or sin. You are someone because God made you to be phenomenal, and you will rise. Whatever it is you've gone through, it is a training ground to give you the experience and the backbone that's necessary so that you can stand firm and stand strong against whatever comes up against you. The storms of life will come, but that storm must also have an eye. And in the eye of that storm is I. It's you to stand there and say, there's a storm around me, it may swirl and the winds may rise, but I rise with it. I will survive it because there's something great in me that's got to come out. I will rise. I will rise. Out of the surety of defeat, I can rise and live. Because I am a child of the great I am.
Please everybody get on your feet and welcome my dear friend. Here to share a message of hope and inspiration.
Listen, first of all, I'm honored to be here to be with you. I promise you, you're going to love where we go with this. I was sitting here thinking, Daniel and I were definitely going to be connected because we have the same barber. We've been paying $75 a haircut, and I think we've been taking advantage of it. It's time to stop. You know, I keep thinking it's just going to grow back one day. It hasn't. What I am honored to be here about is about the things that are happening with this company and about the relationship that I'm building with Daniel. It is rare, he talked about my family, and I've ever taken someone and say, here's what I'll do. I'll agree to speak, but you got to do something for me. I need you to help me raise my son by speaking into him, holding him accountable. As much of a believer I am and leader that you have chosen to follow, that I would tell him, I trust him enough, his conscience, his heart, his passion, his intensity, to give him my son to speak in his life. So if you would, put your hands together for Daniel, for who he is, and what he represents. I would tell you this, so I had a great opportunity to sit there with them yesterday. We were having lunch together. And as we were sitting there, his wife made us feel real guilty about wanting to order dessert, so he and I opted out. And so I just want you to know she's really good at accountability. But I want to tell you my story while you're seated. My story began out of an opportunity chair, but my opportunity chair isn't like the chair you're in. My life began, I'm disabled. I lost my right leg as a kid, but let me tell you the story that led up to it. When I was born, my mom was 18 and didn't know what to do or deal with a child with a disability. My father said there's absolutely no way that after waiting my life to have a boy, he had dreamed of one that would be a great athlete, that do great things, that God would allow him to have a child that is disabled. So he said, I can't be the father of a cripple, and bowed out of my life. And so my grandmother, seeing that my mom was inadequate in what to do and how to take care of a child with disabilities, stepped in and began to rear me. She began to raise me with expectation, though, even as I was sitting in wheelchairs, and I had started having surgeries when I was just 90 days old. Every 6 months I had surgeries until I was 11. The wheelchair had become so accustomed to me, a part of my life, that everyone thought that's the way I would live my life. You see, I didn't see the wheelchair as a place that I was stuck, because I had someone who was in my life, a leader who could speak to me and tell me that the chair that I was in is an opportunity chair. It's an opportunity that I can either resign and say this is my chair for an execution, or it can be a throne about the things that I get up and overcome in spite of what had happened to me. She began to tell me that you can get up out of the chair and do something with your life, or you can stay there and blame everyone, including God, saying, why did I have to go through this in order to be this? Why do I have to go through trials? Why do I have to go through rejection? Why do I have to be broken? But in brokenness, great things can take place. In trials, you can develop your triumph. From that chair, you can make a decision, make a choice to be more than anyone ever imagined. I hope I got some people in here where people have told you that you would fail, you would never excel, you never become anything, you never overcome anything. Because if you're there, you are like me, and I gotta believe this, that the same God that gave me the power and strength to get up and overcome that is also in your life. I was living my life trying to hide my disability because I had learned to be ashamed of it because of the way my own father looked at me. I was ashamed of it because there was no one else in my family that was disabled. I used to dream one day of being able to find out what it felt like to have grass. I wondered what it was like to play with the other kids because I was always going from surgery to rehab, back to crutches, back to a walker, back to a wheelchair. And the cycle kept repeating so much that it was what it was. Then finally, there was a neighbor across the street who happened to be a Shriner, who decided that he needed to intervene with what was going on with my life and said to my grandmother, "What's wrong with the boy? I think we could help because the Shriners will take care of his surgery for free and change his life." That's why I was excited hearing about Love 3. Because what you will be doing is changing lives, and there will be some James Dixon that you will touch in an amazing way, and generations will be changed because of what you do. But in order to get there, it takes more than one of you, it takes more than two, it takes all three. And if all of three can go all in, we can change the world, but it starts with him. The gentleman who came across the street started talking to my grandmother about the boy that's always in the chair. In fact, the neighborhood always referred to me as the crippled kid. I didn't have a lot of interactions and things, and I was always in a hospital, so I didn't get a chance to hang out with the kids in my community, in my neighborhood. I was just always under my grandmother's watch and care. Just so happened that they take me to the Shriners Hospital in Chicago. And as I'm there, I'm going through the hospital on tour, and I'm so accustomed to it. And as I'm going through this whole thing and learning about what they offer there and the kids that are there, and it's exciting because in Indiana, where I'm from, they didn't have kids that I could play with or anything, but at this hospital, it was all kid-centric. They put me in a room, and I'm given two roommates. One named Matthew and one named Gilbert. Matthew was a great kid with a personality bigger than the room, but he was 8, he was dysfunctional in many other ways of movement, but his heart was wide open and functioning great. His mom and dad were always there caring for him, loving on him. But then on the other side of me was a kid named Gilbert. Gilbert was 12, black kid out of Chicago, who became disabled because someone threw him from the balcony in Cabrini Green Apartments, left him paralyzed. But these are my roommates. And in order for us to be able to communicate with each other, they put a mirror on the ceiling so that I could talk to Gilbert, as Gil couldn't do anything other than look up and talk back and forth. And we communicated, and I'd share with Matt. We had this conversation going back and forth about one day and what we could do and play and all these things. One day Matthew goes off to surgery. And when he goes off to surgery, we're waiting on him to come back, and his mom and dad come in the room, and Matt doesn't come with him. We said, "When is Matt coming?" And mom and dad came, and they gave me a teddy bear. They gave one to Gilbert. And they said that Matt didn't make it. He went home. And it was the first time I realized that life can be short. That's why every moment that we have together, we have to make the most of it. It's not what you paid out to fly in to get here. If you want to increase your payouts, then you got to make the most of the moment you're in. You got to be present so much so that you got to put the phone on D&D while you're in here for a moment. You got to spend time focused on upgrading everything within so that when you leave here, you're not without any of the information. They just said something amazing that you just increased to 25%, and you should be excited like, I can't wait to get back because I'm going to increase my income, and I'm that much closer to helping open the foundation. I looked at the fact that Matthew passed away and began to think of life differently. That tomorrow isn't promised, so what I have to do today. Gilbert on the other side of me is just silent, but he's hurting, but his mom never's there, his dad's never there, just like me. It just so happened that one day they tell us that his mom is coming. Gilbert gets all excited and said, "Guess what, James? My mom is coming." I said, yeah. He's like, man, I can't wait. So they dress him in regular clothes instead of hospital clothes. They combed his hair out. He's excited that his mama's finally coming. When she comes in the room, they close the curtain to get privacy between he and I. When they gave the privacy there, they might as well not try that because I'm going to eavesdrop anyway. Like something. So I'm watching, look in the mirror, Mom looks up, and I put my head down there, and I'm not watching. As soon as I see them start talking, I watch again, but I wish I hadn't seen this. You see, in the conversation they began to have, his mom came to say goodbye. She said, Gilbert, I just can't take care of you. They said you'll never walk again. And for me, I'm young, I still got my whole life ahead of me. And she chose to walk out of her kid's life. And Gilbert's last words to his mom was, Mama, please don't. Mercy. He begged for mercy. And she said, you're making it too hard on me, and turned and walked away. No kiss, no hug. I sat there and I figured, I've never been in a hospital before where kids die and others get abandoned. And then I thought about it. I hadn't seen my mom. I hadn't seen my grandmother. And I knew not to expect my father. Thought about it and I said, wait a minute, is anybody coming back for me? We go ahead and they tell me they're going to have a surgery, but they don't tell me what the surgery is going to be about. I go into the bathroom, they wash my leg, and they don't tell me any information. And when I wake up the next day, my leg is gone and nobody told me. And I felt abandoned, I felt hurt, I felt betrayed because they took something from me, and it was all that I never known. There were some of you who are like I felt then. That things change and people take things from you, but I gotta help you understand something. As I mature, I look back on it and I see that sometimes loss creates gain. Wherever you were before 3, that is a loss to them, because here you will gain. But there will be times where you have to separate some things out of your life that become distractions. The longer I was attached to a leg that was dying, it would have kept me from being able to stand in front of you. It's all I ever knew, but if I had kept it, I would have always been bound to the wheelchair. But the amputation, as hurtful and harmful as I felt it was, that was how I felt. The fact is, it opened me up to grow and do amazing things in life that if I had not lost it, I would not have gained other things. So the key is that you will lose so that you can gain. So I hope you lose some habits. I hope you lose some things that have been holding you back and stopping you from growth so that you can find the things that should be in your life. I hope you find the 3 people that you need to bring into your life. I hope you connect and find those that are supposed to be the pillars in your life. I hope you connect with Kim. I hope you connect with Tyson. I hope you connect with the person beside you and stop being attached to all those that left the room and abandoned you in other times. Because here, you can grab a hold of something that can last and change your life. That hospital room changed my life. A nurse began to tell me, James, one day you will run, you'll be able to play sports, you'll be able to walk, you'll be able to stand like a flamingo. That's a big thing for us. You know, it's easy doing this, and I do this all day, and I can get in contests with people, like, can you do this? It's hard on the other side, you know. But I can remember sitting there in the hospital, and the nurse was telling me she built my confidence. It's kind of like having Dr. Dan in your life and knowing his background and what he has to share and his knowledge, and you have that confidence that you can share with confidence because you know the science behind it. And because you have that, you can have full confidence that I have something solid, I can prove it, I got the credentials. And because I began to believe what the nurse was telling me, my confidence was going up. She She told me that I would begin to play sports. I do all those things. I won't spoil what happened to Mom. I'm going to make you go look at my channel and learn the other part of my story, but I'm going to share this with you and pivot this way. What happened in that hospital room when they took my leg and then I learned to walk, it changed my entire life. It changed my life in this way. When I got my leg, my grandmother had come and she had talked to me about giving up. And she said, you're not a cripple, you're still Superman. You just got to get over the kryptonite. And I say that to each and every one of you in here. Whatever you think has been holding you back, that kryptonite you got to let go of. Within each and every one of us is the ability to do anything. Inside of every one of you is the power and ability to be a superhero that can change your entire bloodline. What you do with your income, what you do with your outcomes, the vitalization of everything in your life is wrapped up in this room that you can change everything if you can only look within. Let me share this. I was thinking about the fact that when I lost my leg, one day I'd be able to walk, I'd be able to do these things. But I still had a sense of shame. Because everywhere I'd go, I would do a funny thing like this. So let's say we're walking in the halls together. I would only walk with a crowd so that no one could see my limp. I would walk when other people would move, and if they move fast, I'd move fast. If no one was moving, I wouldn't move because I didn't want anyone to see that I was an amputee, that I had lost my leg, that I had something different about me. I felt so much ashamed of that I never wore shorts publicly without feeling ashamed until I was 48 years of age. Because I still had a voice in the back of my head from my father saying, you're just a cripple. There are so many of us that allow things from our past to creep in and mess up our future. And because of shame, we don't move the way we should. But there was something that happened, and I began to share my story with amputees, with veterans that were getting to lose their legs. And so I'd get a call, can you go to the hospital? I'd go visit them, and I'd share with them, hey, listen, this is how I lost my leg. You can get up and do these things. And finally, I get more calls. Can you go talk to this people about this? James, can you talk to that one? And I couldn't do it, so I started making videos. And when I made videos, they began to go viral. And the first one I ever had, we labeled it Absolute Motivation. I went to bed, woke up, and 160,000 people had shared it. Next thing I know, it begins to grow again, and I started to see that when you have a message that needs to be shared, and you share it with purpose, you share it with passion, authentically, without a lie, people buy. I'm not talking about my channel now. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about the product that is in your hands. You see, you have the ability to change someone's health and impact them in a positive way. But you got to be vocal about it. You got to be passionate about it. You got to be so loud about it that they understand that you're not leaving them alone. You're helping them. You want to get them to the next level, and that they can count on the power of 3. You're upline, you, and working together to grow them. About to love this here. I got to share a story. It's a little funny, but I think you'll like it. When I was a kid, I wanted to try out for a basketball team, and the coach didn't know I lost my leg. I show up, and they wouldn't allow me to make the team. He was like, because of your disability, I don't think we'll be able to make it. And so I kept trying out for the team. Anybody know what suicides are? Where you gotta run, touch lines. So first time, I'm 12, and I just learned to walk the year before. I run, I'm touching the lines, but I turn and I dislocate my kneecap. Now, the first time I've ever done that was then. And all I could think about is, you know how many times I've prayed to be here? You know how hard I put in work? You know how much I've wanted to be and be made a part of this team. I wanted to be a part of something. And now because of this knee going out of me, what have I lost? Look at the opportunity that's gone from me. Man, I'm struggling here. God, why did you let this happen? I'm frustrated on the ground. And as I was on the ground, I go ahead and I push my kneecap back in, and I tried to get up and finish it. And the coach still cut me. So I went and got up every morning, 4 a.m., and I would run a mile. I'd do all the drills, and I tried out the next year. It still got cut. So I tried out the next year. Still got cut. And so then I joined the AAU team. I try out, and the coach said, any kid that I determine is going to be a part of the team. I get in the game. I get to some highlights. I start playing in a church league, and I got to record that, and I got to play against kids that were homeschooled, which helped me. You see, homeschool kids, they just assumed that he's black, he's going to jump out the gym. So they would back off me like, he's going to go around us. They give me too much space, and I'm just hitting all these shots. But then they would make mistakes like this. We play against other kids, other teams, and they would be like, hey, listen, the other team's going to be pretty tough. They got a black guy, too. We want you to guard him. No, that won't go well. He's just going to cut to my right. So anyway, I ended up sharing a video of me playing basketball and sent it off to colleges, and I ended up getting the basketball scholarship, even though I never played on my high school team. Even though I had one leg, I still got a full ride basketball scholarship to play basketball. See, I'm so glad you clapped for that, because here's what happened. When I showed up for the first time, the coach only, he gave me the scholarship based on videotapes. VHS is a long time. He didn't know, he just thought, man, you kind of got a cool black guy walk. He had no idea. Back then, we used to wear the long shorts and stuff, and I'd wear high socks, so that they couldn't tell what was wrong with me. So I get to the campus, first day, we go to the gym, and they have this Midnight Madness thing. At practice, Midnight Madness, you get to meet the team, all that's coming up, and the coach sees me for the first time in shorts, and was like, hey, James, what happened to your leg? And I was like, oh, you didn't know? He was like, did this just happen? I was like, no, it's been going on a long time, coach. And he was like, wow, I don't know how we missed that. Yeah. I never told him. What's that, the military rule? Don't ask, don't tell. He should have asked. But now I'm on the team now, it's too late. You know? I got a scholarship now, it doesn't matter, I'm here. But I look at it, all the things that I've gone through in life to prepare me for this, and I'm here to tell you this, that whenever we have trials, it is an opportunity to find your triumph. Whenever it is we have opposition, there was something that Daniel began talking about. He was like, get in the game. The message that went viral for me was a message called, put me in the game. It was the first message. 1.5 million people ended up looking up this particular video of mine. And it was me talking behind the coach about getting in the game. I traveled back, and I remember the way that the game is going, and I'm trying to get in the game, and I'm like, coach, put me in the game. And the coach is like, not yet, not yet, not yet. But I'm watching the team out there. I see them struggling, and I'm intense, man. I bring everything I have, and I'm yelling behind the coach. He's walking back up and down the sideline, and I'm behind the coach saying, coach, put me in the game. And he was like, I got you, Dixon, sit back. And I was like, coach, I don't care how big they are. I don't care how fast they are. I don't care what their DNA is. Coach, they will never be able to give you what I got. I just need to be put in the game. The more that I kept saying it, finally, the coach said, Dixon, get in. He should have never said that. And that was like my moment. You know, I got in and I just go gorilla. You know what gorilla is? It's when you just start yelling for no reason. And I'm as tense like Daniel for no reason, with no sugar, no caffeine. Just out there. So I get in the game, I grab 15 rebounds, 23 points, 9 block shots, and on one leg. I thank God that the other team had those homeschool kids. Now watch. I want to share this with you, and I want to wrap it up with something that stay with you forever. I started off telling a story about loss and about a sense of shame that I held about the loss. But I didn't realize until I looked back over my life that what I lost was my greatest gain. The very thing I felt a sense of shame of is the very thing that built a name for me. It's taken me from working a job at a factory 2 years ago, from nothing. The Bible videos that I've been making began to grow and began to open up doors for me because I continued to have it even when I didn't see the results. I hope I'm talking to some people that are in the back row that want to make it to the first row. I kept doing the habits even when I didn't see the results because those things started working for me even when I didn't see the work. The more that I put in, the more the effort, the more I stay consistent, I began to build traction. And while the traction was going, while I was working my primary job, I was building trucks when God called me to build people. And as I was working there in the factory, I had a choice to make. I finally got opportunities to begin to travel and speak. Do I quit the job? Do I trust if I step out on faith, will there be a safety net for me? Because I have a family. And I can play it safe. I can stay on this, and I got 401k, I got great insurance, I know what I'll make, I'm a leader of men in there, so I've got ego, title, all that in there, but I know that I'm living below my potential and my talent. And there is nothing worse than to live your life below your talent skill set level. Because regret shows up every morning when you look in the mirror. When you start finding yourself driving in the direction of a job and you hate going in, but yet you're still doing it. If this is what life is about, and I'm thinking about staying here for another 25 years, then I'll retire, and when I retire, then I'll go out and do what I want. There is not enough guaranteed days for me to wait on that.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Especially when the world is waiting on you.
Yeah.
And so I decided in April of 2023 to walk off my job. No notice. I walked in dressed like I am today to a factory. So you knew I wasn't going to work, right? So they should know that's like the universal sign that I'm quitting. You dress up on that day. I walked in to their HR and I said, listen, I want to thank you guys for 12 years of allowing me to be a team leader here. I'm leaving. They're like, James, are you giving a 2-week notice? And I said, nope. You will notice I'm gone for 2 weeks. And they were like, you serious? You're not coming back. You're third generation in this. 3 shows up. Your third generation here, your grandmother, your mother, and now you're working here and you're leaving. Yeah, because I saw what that did to them. When they left here broken down, health is shot. Yes, they provided for me, but as I kept doing this, I would never break the generational curses if I don't stop the stuff myself. So here's what I decided to do. I went around and I spoke to everyone that I had worked with. And I said, thank you for letting me serve beside you. I want to thank you for being there for me. When I was going through tough times, thank you. Thank you for preparing lunch and sharing it with me. Thank you for cracking jokes. Thank you for not talking to me. I did all those things and I left there. And as I was walking through the parking lot, it got emotional. It got emotional because I got to thinking about the fact that, man, I put all this time into this place. And I think about all the sacrifices that were made for me. And that if I was going to do this, I need to go all in. Not halfway, not part way, not leave a safety net. I needed to give it everything so there was no regret. And I'm saying to each and every one of you, you have to go all in. There is no victory coming if you don't give absolutely everything. Let me wrap this up this way. I got to give you something that'll last. Because I'm only giving parts of this, but I want to share some parts that will stay with you for life. You have to develop a mantra. You see, when my grandmother sacrificed her retirement to raise me, she told me all the time, Daniel, that you owe me. If I'm going to give up my time, you better become someone. I am not investing in you to just be any kind of guy, be just regular. I expect greatness out of you. And every time you leave here, she would ask this one question: what's your name? Not because of dementia or Alzheimer's, but she would ask my name because she wanted me to say my name so that I'm reminded that I reflect, I represent, and I'm responsible for the last name. That whenever I'd leave, I needed to reflect everything she was putting in me. So that wherever I would go, people would see me and see the work that she had put in me, so that I would not embarrass her and waste her sacrifice. And I'm saying to you, you didn't just join the company, you joined the family. Join three, you go out and represent it. You're the face of it. It's important that you always give your best. Do not do a TikTok. Don't be sloppy about it. Don't do your Instagram that way. Always give your best. Always give the best representation, because you represent more than yourself. You represent the first row, the second row, the third row. You represent everybody that will follow behind you. So always give your all. With developing a mantra, excellence, always give everything. And always think of eternity. But you gotta be willing to purify yourself. See, some of you didn't even know I just threw in 2 products. We gotta do some marketing work, Mark. We gotta fix that. There's something wrong with this. I'm gonna tell you this, and this will become the mantra for 25 for all of us. Any of you guys familiar with the University of Marshall? Anybody ever heard of the University of Marshall? They're not good, but they got a good mantra story. And I'm gonna borrow it for a moment to put it into your life. University of Marshall is only known really because of Randy Moss, one, and second is there's a great story bigger than one individual that took place there. 1975, the team was just finished a bowl game, and as they completed the bowl game, they were flying back to the campus after having lost. 75 players, coaches, staff are all on the team, are all on that plane. Something happens, and 1 mile from landing, the plane explodes. All those young lives wiped out. There was a mantra that the school had where they would yell, "We are Marshall." It was the mantra that had been famous. They had been saying it for years, but it never meant more than once they lost all those players. There were 4 players that did not go on those trips because of academics and injury. Those that were there had survivor's remorse because everyone else died. The president of the college comes down to talk to those 4 players and says, "We're going to cancel football forever we can never again have football at Marshall because of the tragedy. The 4 players decided to meet after hearing that because it's a natural thing for people to believe that when tragedy happens, you never go all out again. And there are some of you that have a reserve take inside of you that holds back you giving your everything in 3 because what happened to me when you were in something else. You've got to be willing to let go of that so that you can go all in here. No reservation, no walls. You got to believe that this is different because it is. It's been vetted. It is qualified. This is not that. You've got to get over that so you can get to this. Some of y'all will miss that one. The team, 4 remaining players, talked the president into going to the NCAA and changing the rules. Because at the time, freshmen were not allowed to play in college athletics. So they went to them and said, we want to have sports, we want to have a team, we want to play again. And so the NCAA changed the rules for Marshall. Today, freshmen play the sports because of the University of Marshall had the rules changed for everyone. Because 4 players gathered the student body and went to the president's office and said, I know you're about to vote on canceling football forever at Marshall. And those 4 players got 8,000 students to come out and stand in front of his office, and they started the mantra, we are Marshall. To remind them that whether it be tragedy, death, problems, we are still that in spite of what we've gone through. Because the mantra is bigger than the moment. Now watch. That's why we have to develop one that lasts throughout life, and I'm giving you one here. When I say we are, you'll say 3. Because the mantra has to last. We are! When things go bad, we are! When things go great, we are! Because there is something inside of you that is bigger than the moment. I'll ask it again. We are! Now, if you believe that, put your hands together for who you will be, for what you're going to be.
But James has been invited in so many rooms the last 2 years because he hasn't been chasing success. He's been chasing becoming a man of value. And that's a totally different message. There's a lot of speakers that take the check and run. James says, how do I serve? You know, you go to lunch. When I was at lunch with him a couple weeks ago, I told the gal, hey, can you bring me the check? She says, that gentleman over there already picked it up. He says, I'm not going to let you pay for lunch. Give me a break. I'm here to serve. And his mantra, every time I talk to him, is how do I serve? You have not become a successful speaker the last 22, 23 months. You've become a man of value, and I got a lot of, I'm very, very impressed with you, my friend. Give James a big hand.